So is now the right time to buy in the London property market? Well, stay tuned and watch today's video because we're going to be discussing the pros and the cons, and you don't want to miss it. Hi everyone, I'm Arinzeh with ONYX Property Team and Keller Williams. I am a UK-based property agent. I work with buyers and sellers and help them discover London and hopefully succeed in achieving their real estate goals. If this is your first time on my YouTube channel, thank you for watching. I like to put out weekly content about the London property market and social things to do in London and what makes this such an incredible and fabulous city to live. So make sure to check out the rest of the videos and please subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss a single video. But in today's video, we're going to be talking about is now the right time to buy. If you're thinking about buying in the London property market, there's so much noise out there. And you're probably wondering, is this the right time to buy? Should I sit tight? Should I wait? Are things going to change? If I buy, is it too soon? Am I going to overpay? And so we're going to dive into that in this week's video. And starting with some of the things that you probably need to consider if you are thinking about buying. First up, just to give you a bit of context, it is still a relatively buyer's market, which means that as a buyer, you probably have a bit more time relative to the amount of stock that's out there to pick the right property for you. When it's a seller's market, that means that there are too few properties for the number of buyers that are out there, and therefore a lot of buyers are competing against each other and typically overbidding, overpricing, paying more for the property than perhaps the original asking price. In a buyer's market, there are fewer buyers relative to the amount of stock, and therefore buyers can really be more in the driver's seat, and it does typically mean that buyers are able to achieve purchase prices less than the asking price. And it's not to say that across London that's what's happening, but definitely we're finding, especially with working with buyers, that we are able to achieve discounts from the asking price in today's current market. Keep in mind that especially if you're focused in prime central London, given that we are still in the middle of the pandemic, we've had significant travel restrictions, and that means about 40% of the international buyers we normally see who are interacting and present in London are not here to buy. So it's another reason why now might be a good time. It's one of the pros as to consider buying now is because it is a buyer's market and you're competing with fewer buyers at this time. If things settle down with COVID, we get a vaccine and we're open again from a travel perspective, you're definitely going to find more international buyers who have been locked out from the market for a while are going to be ready to jump back in, which could potentially start shooting property prices back up. The next thing to consider is that we're currently in a stamp duty holiday, which means that the government enacted post the first lockdown a window in which you would save up to £15,000 on your stamp duty bill, depending on what that is. That is currently scheduled to expire on the 31st of March 2021, and make sure to check out my video on stamp duty holiday so you can get all the details you need to understand how that might actually impact you and how that gets calculated. But suffice it to say, £15,000 is significant. Now, given the cost of stamp duty and the property prices in prime central London, it might not be the end of the world, but certainly for first-time buyers or those second steppers, that $15,000 means that you can either save that money or you can use it towards your purchasing power to perhaps get that much more property for your budget. So again, that's a pro that you might want to factor in if you are considering buying now. Another pro is that mortgage interest rates are still historically low compared to where they've been in the past. This is a great graph that shows average interest rates by product type since 2014. The 10-year fixed mortgage, which is about the longest you can expect to get here in the UK, is just under 2.5%, where it was above 4% back in 2014. The 2-year fixed rate averages just about 1.5% today versus around 2.5% in 2014. So that alone will save borrowers thousands of pounds over the long run by taking advantage of rates today and working to pay that mortgage down over the next number of years. It's not a con, but definitely make sure that regardless of mortgage rates or anything else, you want to factor in your own personal situation and if you feel comfortable taking on a mortgage. So if you're currently a renter and perhaps your job situation is not as secure as you'd like it to be, or you're feeling you're stretching just to take advantage of the stamp duty or interest rate situation, by all means, don't buy right now. Make sure you're comfortable. Make sure you feel like London is a place you want to stay, that your job situation feels relatively secure, and if you had to go several months perhaps without income, would you be in a position where you could cover that mortgage and not get into trouble? So you might look at different insurances or things like that, but definitely want to make sure you're comfortable and secure in taking on that additional debt, which is not insignificant. Along with that, make sure to do your research and homework and make sure you understand that you're not overpaying for the property. So if you fall in love with something and you're ready to dive in, make sure that it still offers good value compared to the other units that are currently on the market. As a buying agent, I work with lots of buyers, and that's one of the things I make sure that on the front end that they are well prepared and ready to go, that they've spoken to a mortgage advisor, that they're comfortable on what that mortgage situation might look like if they're taking on a mortgage. And we make sure that as we look and compare properties, we can really compare it on price per square foot, amenities, location, the distance to the tube station, all those things to get them comfortable, to feel that when we make an offer, we're making an offer that they feel comfortable making. Another pro to consider, especially as a foreign buyer, is that exchange rates are still relatively strong compared to the pound. Though the pound has rebounded significantly since its post-Brexit lows, it is still relatively weak compared to where it's been historically. This 10-year graph shows the pound relative to the dollar, and you can see that prior to 2006, 1 pound was easily worth $1.50 or more. Currently, the range has been around $1.30. For European buyers, over the last 10 years, the pound has purchased a high of 144 euros, but today is only around 1.114 euros. For those US dollar and euro-based buyers, this foreign exchange savings is significant. People focus so much on the purchase price and perhaps even interest rates, as they should, but that significant savings in the strength of your dollar in terms of its purchasing power can really more than offset any additional costs you have down the road. And if you're seeing a 20% savings on that, that is pretty significant. Now, again, the pound could get weaker over the next few months, especially with Brexit woes looming, or it could actually rebound and get stronger. So that makes it a time to consider if now is the right time for you. Now, as far as the cons or reasons why you might want to hold off on purchasing your property currently, is that property prices could further decline next year. While that might indeed happen, especially after the stamp duty holiday ends, no one knows for sure what's actually going to take place. Take 2020, for example. We started off the year, the housing market started to rebound as we'd had the general election last December 2019, and then COVID hit, which literally stopped the market. But then with lockdown, we thought that, the market might just kind of slowly start creeping out. But with the government incentive on the stamp duty holiday, we just saw the property market practically explode. I know for me, it's been one of my best years, even just in the last few months, and many estate agents are experiencing the same thing. So we're seeing pricing increases, good transaction volume, again, not where it's been historically, but those rebounds were really quite unexpected given that we are still in the middle of the pandemic. So it just goes to say that no one knows. And also for those people trying to time the market and get to the bottom, you only know it's the bottom when it's on its way back up and you've missed it. So again, if you are thinking about buying and waiting to see if property prices decline further, I always suggest to my clients, let's price that into the offer price. So if you think property price is going down another 10%, factor that in if you found the right property today, because you definitely don't want to play cat and mouse trying to do too much timing to the market and miss some fantastic deals in the meantime. Another thing to consider if you think that the property prices might go down even more is that current forecasts show the London property market prices rebounding and increasing from 15 to 20% over the next 5 years. And historically speaking, London property prices have increased on average 7% since 1980. So things do suggest that the London property market will continue to recover and rebound. So again, timing it to the market is a bit risky. Now, having said all that, property prices could come down in April and May as the stamp duty holiday expires, and that's if it expires. We don't know for sure. It could get extended. But if those people who missed out on that stamp duty savings in April and May, it's likely to definitely pull people out of the market, and therefore those who are still buying in April and May should probably be able to command a price reduction to reflect the savings that they've missed out on. Again, no one knows. So don't rush merely to take advantage of the stamp duty holiday, but also don't not buy if you find the right property, because ultimately you should be able to get it for the value that you see in it. The other con to consider is Brexit uncertainty could further depress property prices. The current deadline to get an agreement with Europe expires on the 19th of November, which is around the corner and right around when this video will drop. Of course, there could be an additional extension, but so long as this is still much in the air, it will continue to create uncertainty as buyers sit on the sidelines and try to figure out what's going on. That will continue to depress property prices, and you should be in a position to take advantage of that. So I hope this video has given you some of the pros as well as cons or things to consider if you're thinking about buying today. Make sure to hit that like button, and I'd love it if you leave me a comment if you're thinking about buying, and let me know some of the concerns you might have about coming into the property market at this time. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure to check out the other videos on my YouTube channel where I share great things about the London property market and living in this incredible city. So that's Arinzeh with ONYX Property Team and Keller Williams. Bye for now.